Hello, mathematicians. Today we're going to be learning about whole numbers, more specifically how to multiply by two-digit numbers. To get us started, we have 25 times 62. Now remember, in multiplication, we can switch the order of our numbers and still get the same answer. So the product of 25 times 62 is the same as the product of 62 times 25. And typically when we write our numbers vertically, we want to put the number with the most digits on top. However, both of these have two digits, so it doesn't really matter how we write it. So I just rewrote it here like we see in our problem. And when we're multiplying by a two-digit number, we're going to go ahead and take the 62 and multiply it by every value on top. However, we're going to break apart the 62 to make it a little easier. We're going to start off with the 2 in 62 and multiply it by every value, and then the 6 in 62 and multiply it by every value. So, starting with the 2, I have 2 times 5, which is equal to 10. I bring down my 0 and I carry over my 1 because 10 does not fit in the ones place. So we have to carry over when we have a number that's larger than 10. And then we're going to do 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, but now we have to add the 1 that we carried over, giving us a value of 5. All right? So now we can move on to the 6. But before we start multiplying using the 6, let's cross out the 1 that we carried over so we don't get confused. And because we're starting to multiply with the 6, we are starting in the tens place value, not the ones. So we have to add a 0 here as a place value holder for that. So now we can get started. Now we could do 6 times 5, which is equal to 30. So we bring down our 0 and we bring up our 3. And then we're going to go ahead and do 6 times 2. And 6 times 2 is 12, but don't forget to add the 3 above it, giving us a value of 15. All right. So now we have two values here, 50 and 1,500. And what we're going to do is we're going to add them together. So starting with the ones place, we have 0 plus 0, which is 0. Then we have 5 plus 0, which is 5. Then we have nothing plus 5, which is 5. And finally, we have nothing plus 1, which is 1. All right, so 25 times 62 is equal to 1,550. So let's do 2 more examples. Here we have 347 times 25, all right? So again, when we set this up vertically, make sure the number with the most digits is on top to make it a little easier. So 347 times 25. We're going to take the 5 and 25 and multiply it by every value, and then the 2. So 5 times 7 is 35. We're going to bring down the 5 and carry over the 3 because 35 does not fit in the ones place value. Then we're going to do 5 times 4, which is 20, but we have to add that 3, giving us a value of 23. Then we have 5 times 3, which is 15. But don't forget to add that 2 that we carried over, which gives us a value of 17. Before we move on to the 2, please make sure to cross out the numbers you carried over. Then please to make sure you add a 0 as a place value holder. Now we could start multiplying by 2 because it's in the tens place and we are starting in the tens place. So 2 times 7 is 14. Bring down our 4, carry over our 1. Then we have 2 times 4, which is equal to 8, but we add that 1, which gives us a value of 9. And then finally, we have 2 times 3, which is 6. All right, and don't forget to add our commas. And now we'll add these two values together. Starting with the ones place, we have 5 plus 0, which is 5. Then we have 3 plus 4, which is 7. Then we have 7 plus 9, which is 16. Bring down the 6, carry over the 1. And then we have 1 plus 1 plus 6, which equals to 8. So 347 times 25 equals 8,675. All right, and now let's move on to our final example. Here we have 1,284 times 58. When we write this vertically, we write the number with the most digits on top, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to start off with the 8 and 58, and then the 5. So 8 times 4 is equal to 32. Bring down our 2, carry over a 3. Then we're going to do 8 times 8, which is equal to 64. And be mindful that we carried over a 3, so we do have to do 64 plus 3. 64 plus 3 is 67. Bring down our 7, carry over our 6. Then we have 8 times 2, which is equal to 16. Don't forget to add the 6 we carried over, giving us a value of 22. So 2, and then we carry over the 2. Finally, we have 8 times 1, which is equal to 8, and then we add our 2, giving us a value of 10. All right? Before we move on and multiply with our 5, make sure you cross out all the numbers you carried over. Then make sure you add a 0 as a place value holder. Now we could proceed and multiply with the 5. So 5 times 4 is equal to 20. Bring down our 0, carry over a 2. Then we have 5 times 8, which is equal to 40, but we add the 2 we carried over, giving us a value of 42. So bring down the 2, carry over the 4. Then we have 5 times 2, which is equal to 10, but we add the 4 that we carried over, giving us a value of 14. So we bring down the 4, and we carry over the 1. And then finally, we have 5 times 1, which is 5. Add the 1 we carried over, giving us 6. And now we're going to add our values together. So starting in the ones place, we have 2 plus 0, which is equal to 2. Then we have 7 plus 0, which is equal to 7. 2 plus 2, which is equal to 4. 0 plus 4, which is equal to 4. And finally, we have 1 plus 6, which is equal to 7. So 1,284 times 58 equals 74,472. All right? And that's it for multiplying by 2-digit numbers.